the colours of the rainbow. This is one puny pugilist reef creatures sure want to keep their distance from.
With amazing scents and friendly ingredients, Hello Deodorant makes every day yay.
Wow. This Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy edges that tear so much better. I'm starting to get carried away.
Designed with smooth tear edges, Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better for a smooth, more enjoyable day. Plus, it has more cushiony softness than ordinary squares. Try Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear, voted #1 product of the year.
Some members of the underwater kingdom are daring and dangerous, but not all marine peacocks are as bold. For those without a knockout punch, being able to hide from predators is a necessity. Within the shallow waters of the Indo-Pacific surrounding Southeast Asia, there are a number of hidden treasures. But when it comes to the art of concealment, there is one species that has a rather unique
welcome to the stream. We're going to be modding up Killbox. It's about, I don't know, 75% of the way there. As you can see, I'm in there already right now.
This species is nothing short of a
yeah,
work
bro.
of art.
Bringing it back. Just in time for 1.26. We've got 1.2. I've got 1.26 stores and lockers already set to go. Boats and all.
His bulging eyes
Got
are
some
arranged
little
perpendicular
islands that
to
I
his
built
mouth.
that are out there too. So this puppy will be ready for 126, even if it's not the map. At least we get the loot. We get the masks and all the new shit.
With a more conventional
Killbox 2024.
His eyes gradually migrated to the left side of his
Iteration 4. It's gonna have a couple little different things to it.
Completely flat upon the sea floor. A perfect position in which
That's
to
cool
lie
as fuck. Killbox 2024
with the
version 4 is gonna have a lot of different new trader stuff that come with it. So it's gonna be in a vanilla economy, but
concealed on the sea
there'll be
floor.
heli crashes.
His eyes protrude from
The
below
animals
the
will be
sand like
more.
tiny
There'll be more
periscopes.
animals, and you'll have the same access to airlifts, but you know we're gonna emphasize trading.
Spotting
Okay, so we're still have tokens, but if you want to come to the safe zone, that's fine. But you got to pay the toll first of all, and second of all, you're gonna want to buy something if you're coming in, or sell something. So if you're selling something, you can sell it right at the gate or anywhere, pretty much as long as you find a buyer. Okay, because the safe zone's got the auto ban. But if you're buying, if you want to get past the gates, okay, it's going to cost you, and you got to let us know what you want, right? So you want a full gear setup? That's about $1,000. You can get a full military gear, but it's going to be $1,000. Okay. You can rent cars. The cars are no longer just free. They're the dealership. You got to rent them. They're weekly rentals. We've got 3 different cars and 3 different colors now. We've got the Circa. We've got the Olga, and we've got the Ada, and it's 3 different colors. So of course we've got the trucks, the 3 different colors, the trucks too, as well as the Humvees. But it's going to be 500 tokens a week for the civilian vehicles. For the military vehicles, it's 1,000 for the Humvees, and then for the trucks, it's 750. Okay, so if you want to fully stock up a truck, you can get the truck for a week. That's 750 tokens. And then if you want to load that truck up while you're in the safe zone, that's another 1,000. But you can load it up with all the tools and all the wood and everything. Okay. And you can sell your weapon. You can sell weapons that you find. That's why it's not going to be like it was before. There was no economy whatsoever. It was strictly airlift, but we're gonna have the economy in there, and so you can hunt, you can fish, you can barter, you can get weapons, and you can sell the weapons. You can sell food, your fish that you fish. You can get the fish nets, fish. Come over to the safe zone, sell it. Same with skins. You can sell that shit. You can sell weapons. You can sell anything. You can find cards in the wild. You can come sell them at the safe zone. That's fine. Okay. And when I say sell them at the safe zone, we got built-in traders. So myself, any admins, you can sell your shit to. Okay, or if you find out in the danger, you sell. But one thing is, you do need a driver's license, so it's going to be legal to drive in Killbox, the entire map, unless you have a license. Okay, licenses are free, you just have to link and mint your card, and that's your license. Okay? Now, it's also illegal outside of the safe zone to kill on-duty mercenaries or security guards. Safe zone security guards, okay? It's going to be illegal, so you can go to jail. We can issue a warrant and a bounty for you, dead or alive, to come to jail, or for killing, you know what I'm saying, for killing us. As long as we're on duty, we have our armbands on, the yellow armbands. Anyways, that's what we got going on. Let me take a quick break while until I finish this, but that's what we got going on.
The sea cucumber.
Did you know serums are concentrated with powerful ingredients for better skin results? Try Olay Super Serum and Super Eye Serum. Olay Super Serum has 5 powerful ingredients in one. It hydrates to visibly improve texture and evenness while also firming and smoothing. And to target the top 5 eye concerns, Olay Super Eye Serum hydrates, brightens, refreshes tired eyes, and improves fine lines and puffiness. For powerful visible skin results, try Olay Super Serum and Super Eye Serum.
Want to get the most out of one sheet? Grab Bounty. Bounty is made to be stronger and more absorbent. So while ordinary brands can't hold up, one sheet of Bounty keeps working even when wet. Now that's the sound of value. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Class-leading safety features at every turn. The Hyundai Tucson.
Get 1.99% APR for 60 months on the Hyundai Tucson or Tucson Hybrid. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
Named for obvious reasons, sea cucumbers are related to starfish and sea urchins. Not so obvious is the location of his face, which bears an unfortunate resemblance to his anus. Given away by the presence of a ring of feeding tentacles, his mouth is the only sensory organ attributed to what we would call a face. His cylindrical body is firm, rigid, and slightly flattened on one side. Tiny tube feet enable him to slowly navigate the ocean floor in search of food. His feeding tentacles are actually modified tube feet, which are used to deliver food to his mouth. And as the sole function of his mouth is the ingestion of food, he must use another organ for respiration. He breathes with his anus. Using a branched organ within his anus, known as a respiratory tree, he moves oxygenated water throughout his body. With breath like that, he's probably not the most popular in the neighborhood. He does, however, give back to the community as the garbage collector of the ocean, and he plays an important role. As he feeds on rotting seaweed and decaying bodies on the seafloor, he recycles waste materials that sustain the presence of bacteria, an essential service in maintaining a healthy marine ecosystem. While he certainly possesses some unseen traits, he's not shunned by all. On the contrary, some actively seek out his company, though mostly for shelter. But this pearlfish pursues a deeper relationship, hoping to take up residence within his anus. Obvious discomfort aside, this surprise intrusion doesn't actually have an adverse effect on the sea cucumber. The pearlfish isn't parasitic and pursues a commensal relationship with him, using his anus as shelter from would-be predators. This new anal home has all the security a drifting pearlfish could ever want. This sea cucumber's anus is armed to the teeth. Quite literally, a ring of sharp anal teeth deters unwelcome predators from delving too deeply. But this isn't his only defense. If threatened, the sea cucumber will excrete his respiratory tree. These sticky ribbons are capable of entangling and immobilizing predators, buying time for a swift getaway. With the successful defense of his anus, this sea cucumber and his new tenant are able to breathe a sigh of relief, free once more to wander the seafloor, vacuuming up refuse, recycling as he goes. And while he may have a face that only a mother can love, he's also got anal teeth. What's not to like? While one species has developed an unusual way to avoid toxic relationships, there's another out there that has taken the art of toxicity to a whole new level. Australia's Great Barrier Reef is a single structure made of living organisms. Spanning over 2,000 kilometres, it's the largest living organism on the planet. A majestic underwater garden, awash with aquatic delights so bright and beautiful, you can't help but want to reach out and touch. But every rose has its thorn. The reef stonefish. He lives in a vibrant tropical wonderland. So why the long face? Perhaps with such a bland appearance, he doesn't feel like he fits in. His cousin here looks more flamboyant. Perhaps she's better suited to the bright lights of the inner reef. But she doesn't look too happy either. There's just no pleasing some fish. We all have our place in society, and for the stonefish, it's largely determined by what camouflage they're born with. With his drab exterior, he's destined for a more beige existence, somewhere on the outer reef. Far from the glitz and glamour of the colourful coral, he seems to fit in much better here. Now to find a place to call home. And it's not always an easy task. Even out on the outskirts of the reef, those perfect nooks are prime real estate. At last, the perfect crevice. But while being this well camouflaged has its advantages, there's always a downside. Unaware of his presence, this moray eel stakes its claim. Not interested in having a roommate, the stonefish moves off to continue his search. In pursuit of the quiet life, he decides to rough it for now, camping out amongst the boulders. He lies motionless on the sea floor, encouraging the growth of algae on his skin, further concealing his presence. Peace at last. But sometimes his camouflage can be a little too effective. This hungry sea turtle mistakes him for a delicious algae snack. With nosy neighbors moving into the area, it's time to move out again. Finding his place in the world is proving difficult. No wonder he looks so grumpy. Too uncomfortable. Too loud. Too busy. He's going to have to move even further away from the central reef. He's much easier to spot when he's on the move, not being the most elegant nor inconspicuous of swimmers. He gets around by awkwardly flapping his large pectoral fins and wiggling his not-so-streamlined body. While moving, his camouflage is hardly a defense mechanism at all. But he has another ace up his sleeve. That mohawk of his is more than just his lack of conformity to society. It's actually a weapon. Concealed within his dorsal fin are 13 needle-like spines, and they're deadly. Each spine is not only capable of piercing flesh, but delivering highly toxic venom, making him one of the deadliest creatures in the marine world. Finally, the perfect spot. Or not. Perhaps a little too close to shore. With his cover blown again, he hasn't had a chance to feed. And it's only when feeding that we see the true purpose of his camouflage. This looks promising. Not an intruder or rival reef stonefish in sight. Far from the razzle-dazzle of the inner reef, it's a bit of a ragtag neighborhood, but it'll do. His patience has finally paid off, and this school of mullet is in for a big surprise. Lying motionless on the sea floor, he's practically undetectable. As an ambush predator, all he has to do is wait. Biding his time, he launches that big frown into action, swallowing the fish whole. His camouflage serves him well, because without it, a mug like that would have any potential lunch swimming for the hills. A full belly at last. Though unable to remove his permanent scowl, he's probably smiling on the inside. Now that he's finally found his Shangri-La. The oceans of our planet are a perilous place for all creatures big and small. And to call these places home, the strange creatures living there have evolved ways to cope, even if it's at the cost of their appearance. From big heads, to boggle eyes, to snaggle teeth, these creatures have all adapted to the complexities of underwater life. Laughing in the face of conventional beauty, the design of these underwater creatures just goes to show beauty really is only fin deep.
This freebie program is only available with ads.
The beauty of the animal kingdom is universally celebrated. The regal, the elegant, and graceful. But what about those animals who, in our eyes, are not part of that beauty parade? Anatomy doesn't have to be attractive to be well adapted. Join us as we explore the weird, the wacky, and the downright bizarre. Even Mother Nature's most malformed-looking children make sense in the context of their environment. They are masters of disguise, ultimate predators, nocturnal freaks, and sexy beasts. Every proboscis has a purpose, every wrinkle a reason. There is perhaps nothing as useful as being ugly. Life as we know it depends on one thing: reproduction. The passing on of genetic information is an essential ingredient in the miracle of life, but it's not always pretty. Luckily for some, life is blind. Australia is home to some of the world's weirdest mammals. Not least of all, the marsupials. In the dusty red isolation of the world's smallest continent, this iconic family has evolved to bound across plains and live high in the treetops. But perhaps it's a prickly cousin of theirs that is the most unusual amongst mammals. The short-beaked echidna. Covered in coarse fur and long spines, this adult female echidna looks a little bit like a toilet brush that grew a snout. A snout that is somewhat disproportionate to her other features, like those short, stumpy legs. She may look odd, but with her features combined, she's a formidable hunter. Well, most of the time. Her diet consists mostly of ants, termites, and any other invertebrates that she can fit into her tiny mouth. She's found a cluster of termite mounds. Not always easy pickings. When disturbed, termites often retreat deep below the surface. Made from tough clay, these mounds are not easily penetrated. But not to worry. She has a trick or two up her sleeve. Or nose, in this case. Her long, slender snout contains electrosensors that help her detect the tiny electromagnetic fields emitted by would-be prey beneath the ground. And those short, stout limbs are punctuated with tough claws for when digging is required. Before resorting to that tactic, her large snout contains another secret weapon. An extraordinarily long tongue. Otherwise known as a termite's worst nightmare. Growing up to 17 centimeters long, it's covered with tiny barbs, enabling her to seek out and ensnare numerous termites in a single lick. With the ability to lick up to 100 times per minute, she has a lot of termites to digest. Especially when she doesn't have teeth to chew them up. Instead, she grinds the termites up using her tongue and gums. Tasty. As skilled a hunter as she may be, she's not at the top of the food chain. These hungry dingoes are sizing her up as a snack, but they're in for a nasty shock. Curling into a ball of spikes, she uses her strong claws to dig in tight. Her long spines are an intimidating defense, but only as long as she can protect her soft and vulnerable underside. Although not the fastest of learners, these dingoes are certainly persistent. But even the most dogged of predators eventually realize when they've bitten off more than they can chew. While those spikes keep her safe, when it comes to reproducing, the echidna can only mate in one way, very carefully. As a solitary living species, echidnas only come together during mating season. Here, a train of males follows her, each hoping to get their opportunity to sow their seed. All aboard! It's all about timing. Noticing a brief window in which she is unattended, this male seizes his chance. Coming together, very cautiously, they begin to mate. It's not long before a rival male arrives to separate the pair, but it seems he's too late. Maybe next time. Her elongated tongue, prickly afro and stout feet aren't even her strangest qualities. Here, safe in an underground chamber, she's about to do something exceptionally strange for a mammal. She lays an egg. A single leathery skinned egg is laid into a pouch on her abdomen, which is then incubated for a further 10 days before it hatches. Her baby is known as a puggle, a cute name for what seems to be a pink jelly bean. It spends most of its early life suckling, and looking like that, it could almost be mistaken for a fat skin parasite. After 50 days or so, the puggle becomes a little too prickly to remain a welcome tenant, and the spiky juvenile is evicted from the pouch. Still too young and not spiky enough to fend for himself, he will stay in the burrow for another 6 months. Of course, his mother will still check in every couple of days with a care package of food and essentials, until the day that every mother dreads. When the puggle is all grown up and ready to face the big wide world. He'd better behave out there. Mum's got a tongue as sharp as a whip, with a prickly attitude to match. And she just loves to stick her nose in other people's business.
Score the game.
The new Hyundai Elantra with America's best warranty. There's joy in every journey. Get 1.99% APR for 60 months or up to $500 bonus on the Hyundai Elantra. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
For a mammal, starting life inside an eggshell is quite unusual. For a young bird, however, it's the norm. But, as with the echidna, good looks take a while to grow into. Here, in the remote Galapagos Islands, one species has evolved sleek, aerodynamic features that allow it to effortlessly cut through the strong onshore winds. Majestic. But they don't start out that way. The truth. This masked booby chick is anything but aerodynamic. There's a face in there somewhere. At this age, he's very much restricted to life on the land, as his thick plumage would not do him any favours in the air or sea. His fluffy coat is made up of down feathers and is better suited for warmth. It can't be easy being surrounded by wonderfully adapted, streamlined adult boobies. It's that awkward stage. Try as he might to rid himself of his cotton wool appearance, his adult plumage will take up to 2 years to fully develop. And when that time comes, he'll lose that gawkish look and put on his mask. As a young adult, he quickly becomes a master of disguise and commander of the water. With forward-orientated eyes, permanently closed nostrils, and an impact-resistant skull, this bird is built for speed and agility. As adept as he's become in the sky and sea, when back on land, he retains a sense of that adolescent awkwardness. Nobody's perfect. Unlike his masked cousin, this blue-footed booby has found a way to celebrate this gait. If you've got it, flaunt it. And the ladies just swoon. The blue-footed booby mates year-round. But standing out in a crowd this size isn't always easy. Overcoming a moment of performance anxiety, he's ready to strut his stuff. He begins by showing off his blue feet with a high step. He's got the shiniest blues in the colony, and he wants everyone to know it. Then he gives her that look. But it's not his striking facial features that win her over. It's those feet. The intensely blue coloration of his feet reflects his reproductive virility. He flashes his wings, she flashes hers, they clap beaks. They're a match. And shortly after their blue-footed dance, the newly mated pair produces a fluffy white offspring of its own. While not immediately apparent, someday in the not-too-distant future, this awkward ball of white fluff will mature into a sleek, blue-footed Casanova, just like his dad. While some species are born aspiring to be just like mum and dad, for others, following in their parents' footsteps isn't always appealing. Rivers are the lifeblood of the vast plains of Africa. They are essential bastions for drinking, washing, hunting, and just cooling off. Perhaps the face most synonymous with these waterways is that of the hippopotamus. Her face is certainly iconic. That broad, bulbous head is unmistakable. Her features are the result of more than 8 million years of evolution. There's no other animal quite like her. For example, she's one of the few animals on the planet able to do this. Thanks to incredibly powerful muscles surrounding her enormous jaw, she's able to open her mouth to almost 180 degrees. Unlike other large land mammals, she is semi-aquatic, spending the majority of her time in rivers and lakes. It's for this reason that her eyes, nostrils and ears are all located high on the roof of her head, allowing her to see, hear and breathe while almost completely submerged. But it isn't just her face that's uniquely adapted to life in the water. Her barrel-shaped body has a skeletal structure, which is more than capable of carrying her enormous weight on land. But it's when she enters the water that her bulk is most beneficial, weighing her down and allowing her to remain submerged. However, while she loves the water, she's a relatively poor swimmer. Instead, she uses her short, stumpy legs to propel herself along the riverbed. And while she can't breathe underwater, she can hold her breath for more than 5 minutes at a time. The extreme heat in these savannas can be unrelenting. As her thick skin lacks sweat glands, she remains in the water for the majority of the day to keep cool. Occasionally, her skin will crack, the open wounds inviting parasite infestations. Luckily, there are others in the neighborhood to help. It's a symbiotic relationship, a feast for the birds with a complementary killing for her. But some relationships are more take than give. These oxpeckers peck a little deeper, sneaking a drink of her nutritious blood. When she wants to get everyone off her back, literally, it helps to be submersible. It's mating season, and competition for breeding rights in a crowd this size is fierce. She's drawn the attention of 2 suitors. The young males vie for mating rights the only way they know how. Aggressively. Weighing up to 4,000 kilos each, this match is a clash of titans. They slash at each other with sharp canine teeth that can grow up to half a meter in length. She watches on closely, aware that these epic battles can end in death. But on this occasion, the lesser male submits. However, despite the young victor's valiant efforts, the dominant male arrives, claiming his intended partner. Realizing he's out of his league, the younger male concedes. As with most life events for the hippo, mating occurs while in the water. And ultimately, so does the birth of her young. Her new offspring can weigh up to a staggering 45 kilos. Despite being born in the water, he can only stay submerged for roughly 30 seconds, so he's reliant on his mother for protection and won't stray far. And given the neighborhood, that's probably a good idea. At this age, his features are more proportionate than his parents. He could be considered cute, but that will quickly change. One day, he'll be a force to be reckoned with, but he still has a lot to learn. Like how to stay cool, how to best navigate treacherous waters, and how to perform civic duties. There's a long road ahead. Perhaps for now, he should just enjoy being cute while it lasts.
Do whatever makes you feel better. This is your time.
In the animal kingdom, fighting for the right to mate isn't unusual. But fighting during mating, now that's something quite unique. Off the coast of Australia, the coral reefs are filled with a wide variety of flamboyant and funky fish. And for most of these creatures, reproduction is relatively straightforward. But some of them like to make things a little more dramatic. None more so than the flatworm. There are several kinds of flatworm. But despite being varied in appearance, many share the same essential characteristics. Notably, it's quite hard to distinguish their faces from their bodies. Take this Pseudobicerus hancockales, for example. His name really says it all. His lack of circulatory and respiratory systems limits his shape to one that is able to disperse oxygen throughout his body by simple diffusion. And that means flat. It's those subtle antennae that give away the presence of a head. And although he actually lacks arms, somewhere amidst that writhing mass are a number of specialized organs called ocelli that he uses to determine the direction of light. But perhaps it's his mouth that is his most unique feature, as it also acts as his anus. Without a digestive tract, his waste is excreted through the same orifice that it entered. But he doesn't let this unfortunate feature ruin his appetite. An unlikely-looking carnivore. His undulating fringes propel him, surprisingly quickly, through the water in search of small, unwary swimmers. But in the absence of suitable prey, he's just as happy scavenging dead material from the ocean floor. Given the circumstances, he probably isn't fussy. His flamboyant movements may also reveal another, less than obvious trait. He is also a she. As a hermaphrodite, he or she, as the case may be, possesses a full set of reproductive organs, both male and female. It's the best of both worlds. And while this fact could potentially make the mating ritual less complicated, for the flatworm, the opposite is true. During mating season, a chance meeting with another flatworm can be perilous. While many species fight to secure mating rights, flatworms fight during the act of mating itself. They square up for a fight. They draw their weapons. This is no pissing contest. Those penises can do real damage. As they possess both male and female sexual organs, they are competing to inseminate. This passionate battle is known as penis fencing. On guard. A penis duel like this can last for up to an hour, and each flatworm has the capacity to not only impregnate, but inflict serious wounds on the other, with their sharp twin-pronged members. While the father will be able to swim off in search of other mating opportunities, the pregnant mother will be left to nurture her developing eggs. And if dueling doesn't result in effective mating, he'll keep searching, scouring the ocean for a truly worthy opponent. Given the high stakes, the bizarre-looking flatworm can do nothing more than back himself in a fight, confidently putting his eggs where his mouth is.
To 50 years with my best friend and my soulmate.
The quicker picker-upper. Only Bounty absorbs spills like a sponge, and Bounty is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less and get the job done with 1.
Got a bit of your face on your face.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. And get 4 rolls in 1 with the Bounty Mega Roll, our longest-lasting roll.
Being able to have your cake and eat it isn't all it's cracked up to be. It seems straddling the realms of both the masculine and feminine can be dangerous. But what if the presence of a male wasn't required at all? On the islands of the Indonesian archipelago, there lives a predator so terrible that it has been afforded a title of terrifying proportions. The Komodo dragon. And this large male certainly looks every bit the mystical beast. From his rugged, scale-encrusted face, an extraordinarily long forked tongue protrudes. A sensory organ like no other, it is able to detect, taste, and smell death up to 10 kilometers away. Although unable to breathe fire, that rough-looking head also houses several rows of large serrated teeth, some measuring up to 2 centimeters in length. These would be a terrifying sight, if only they were more readily visible. But they are almost completely covered with a thin layer of skin that is naturally lacerated during feeding. While this creates a perfect environment for oral bacteria to thrive, it probably doesn't make for the best-smelling breath. Komodo dragons are the largest living lizards on the planet. As a male, he has the capacity to grow up to 3 meters in length and more than 70 kilos in weight. Akin to his mythical namesake, his skin is reinforced with armored scales that function as a natural chainmail. That's a lot of weight to carry, and as he's cold-blooded, he doesn't like to expend unnecessary energy. For the Komodo dragon, life on these tropical islands is lived mostly in the slow lane. Of course, as an apex predator, he occasionally moves to quicken his pace, but only when the moment is right. Having soaked up the afternoon sun, he's stored up enough energy to go on the prowl. He frequently preys upon his younger relatives. This one does well to scurry up a nearby tree. Too high. As an opportunist, he'll occasionally attempt larger prey. Too time-consuming. Something in the undergrowth has caught his attention. It's a local rodent. Too fast? Not at all. When the time is right, Komodo dragons can move with surprising speed. He can reach up to 20 kilometers an hour in short bursts. more than enough to snap up this tasty morsel. Able to consume up to 80% of his own body weight in one sitting, he'll need to find something a little more substantial than a bushwhack to fill his belly. But as a patient predator, he's just as happy to let the main course come to him. In order to conserve energy, he won't engage in a lengthy struggle with larger prey. A single bite is all that's required. A concoction of venom and bacteria contained within his saliva enters the pig's bloodstream. Casually following his prey, he knows there is no need to rush. Eventually, the boar succumbs to the lethal cocktail flowing through its veins. Dinner time. Leading a mostly solitary life, feeding time is a rare opportunity to socialize with others of his species. Table manners are set aside, as large chunks of flesh are torn from the carcass and swallowed whole. To aid digestion, he produces copious amounts of saliva to help lubricate the food. Charming. Of course, there is another reason to seek out companionship. When it comes to mating, it takes two to tango. Well, actually, this isn't entirely true. It's recently been discovered that female Komodo dragons are able to naturally reproduce asexually. However, they're only able to produce male offspring through this method. So, for the sake of longevity, physical coupling between male and female is still occasionally necessary. And from time to time, monogamous relationships may be formed. Perfectly capable of reproducing on her own, taking on a life partner may not be too tempting. Is this a face she could wake up next to every morning? He certainly possesses some admirable qualities. He enjoys long walks on the beach, is a good provider, and is looking for commitment. Everything a lady could want. She accepts his advances, and a lifelong bond is formed. Of course, when the honeymoon is over, the capacity to reproduce asexually means that returning to the bachelorette life is always a viable option. Despite his filthy mouth, a terrifying name, and a brutish face, under that thick skin lies a heart of gold.
Introducing Hallmark Plus, featuring exclusive movies and series you can't see anywhere else.
Oh, heck, why not? We're gonna make something really special here.
Hallmark Plus. Subscribe and stream.
3, 2, 1, at it!
See you on that leaderboard!
We're working to stimulate cardiovascular endurance and speed. Challenge yourself. Only you can.
While the Komodo dragon prefers to conceal its deadly fangs, some species are less modest than others. On the plains of Africa, life is tough. Competition for resources is fierce. And when you look like this animal, you have to be thick-skinned. Because not everybody is happy to see you. The warthog. The only creature named after an unwanted skin growth. But in his case, those warts are desirable. All 3 sets of them. And they serve him well in this hostile region. Despite those enormous tusks, warthogs are mainly grazers. frequently feeding on grass or digging and rooting around for roots and bulbs. He spends a good 6 hours a day down on his knees grazing, completely unfazed by the sharp spines of the savanna grasses. But come breeding season, it's those extra big top warts that prove to be one of his most important facial features. As a male, he lives a predominantly solitary life, only socializing with other warthogs when it's time to mate. Of course, these social gatherings are not without tension. To successfully breed with the females here, he must first ward off other competing males. In his quest for dominance, he clashes with this rival male head on. It looks brutal, and those saber-like tusks are more than capable of delivering a fatal blow. However, these clashes rarely result in serious injury. Although the loser might walk away with a wounded ego. Their facial warts act to cushion the blows and prevent those blunt upper tusks from causing any real harm. Asserting dominance, he quickly claims his prize. And now it's time to retreat back to his solitary existence. Mum, on the other hand, is going to be kept busy. About 5 to 6 months after mating, she gives birth to a litter of up to 8 piglets. At such a young age, these piglets lack the unfortunate facial features of their parents. Although they may be cute in appearance, their distinct lack of facial armory leaves them vulnerable to predation, no matter how tough they think they are. They'll need to stick with Mum until they're old enough to fend for themselves. While Mum is slightly smaller and more timid than Dad, she will aggressively defend her young. And as all mothers would agree, you need to have eyes in the back of your head. And the placement of this warthog's eyes means Mum can keep a close eye on who's approaching from any direction. Like this lurking predator on the hunt for an easy meal. Wary of the intimidating tusks adorning adult warthogs, this lioness singles out the piglets as an easier target. But Mum's not having any of it. She shapes up, ready for a fight. Her erect tail signals her young to flee. Her facial armory can inflict mortal wounds upon this unwelcome predator. But of course, given the chance, she will run away every time. She's able to reach speeds of up to 48 kilometers per hour. The only thing this predator is eating is her dust. Noticing that their mother is otherwise occupied, this cheetah moves in on the unattended piglets. Mum arrives just in time. She puts herself between her vulnerable offspring and the imminent threat. As fast as she is, she knows that even she can't outrun this famed savannah sprinter. To be a scaredy cat, there's no point in things getting out of hand. Best to just run away. Again. While by no means picturesque, the warthog's face is a purpose-built, multifunctional tool of survival. And when you live in one of the most hostile regions on Earth, vanity isn't everything. Well possessed possessing large tusks makes for a daunting adversary. In the animal kingdom, there's always someone better equipped.
To remind you that 60% of sales on Amazon come from independent sellers, Farmer Bob and his Princeton popcorn will be in this ad 60% of the time. Great job, Bob.
What's the score of the game?
The new Hyundai Elantra with America's best warranty. There's joy in every journey. Get 1.99% APR for 60 months or up to $500 bonus on the Hyundai Elantra. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
Perhaps it's in the heart of Thailand's tropical rainforests, where the world's horniest creature resides. The rhinoceros beetle. He's a giant, at least in the insect kingdom, and is among the largest in the world. Dominating his face, that disproportionately large horn cuts an imposing figure. An adept climber, his slender legs are punctuated with grappling hook-like claws. His rigid exoskeleton acts as a natural body armor, protecting several pairs of delicate wings. When combined, these features create the ultimate all-terrain battle beetle. Despite his weaponry, he's not actually as scary as he looks. He's a herbivore, feeding on fruit, nectar, and sugary sap. Those strong mandibles make short work of these sweet treats. And those horns come in handy for rooting around in leaf litter. His horn is substantially larger than the female of the species. Come mating season, a large horn signifies health and virility. For this female, size matters. But he's not the only one trying to impress. When showmanship and bravado fail to see off the horny challenger, it's time for the competing pair to face off, literally. It is in competition that his powerful horn reveals its true purpose. He uses it to thrust, parry, and grapple. If he can manage to dislodge his rival from the branch, he will secure breeding rights with the on-looking female. But that won't be easy. His rival is no pushover. Able to lift up to 850 times its own body weight, the rhino beetle is one of the strongest animals on the planet, relatively speaking. It's a clash of tiny titans. Of course, it's not always a case of mere strength. All's fair in love and war. Down but not out, the competitor attempts one last foray. And this time, there's a clear victor. Alone at last. Or so he thought. Revenge is sweet. As the battle fades to memory, the now pregnant female goes on to lay about 50 eggs. These hatch out into tiny eating machines. They beetle away below ground, feeding on rotting wood, growing and storing energy for the next stage of their development. It won't be long before they become just as horny as their dad. He's one of the biggest, strongest, and toughest insects in the world. But just one of them. However powerful the rhino beetle's horn, there's one facial feature even more notorious. Along the stunning Australian coastline lives a species that has long captured our imaginations. A species synonymous with both elegance and grace. However, they don't start out that way. The Australian pelican. At nearly half a metre long, the bill of the pelican is the longest of any bird. And it serves him well. His beak is capable of capturing and devouring large prey. And while expanding and contracting, the pouch of his lower beak can hold the equivalent amount of liquid as 2 toilet flushes. Which, after catching a fish, is expelled to force the prey down his throat. Of course, such a large beak requires periodic maintenance. Here, he performs what could be considered pelican yoga, a series of stretches designed to keep his beak buff. And staying fit is useful when you're about to begin a family. Staying together for the season, he and his chosen mate are busying themselves with creating the perfect home for their 2 eggs. They found an ideal nesting spot close to the shoreline and above the high water mark. This prime real estate is highly coveted, and keeping up with the Joneses isn't always pretty. The eggs are just days off hatching, and the committed couple take it in turns to incubate them and go on fishing trips. Finally, the day has come. But what emerges from the egg is far from being a tiny replica of its parents. This awkward, featherless male chick, with big boggle eyes and disproportionate features, will take some nurturing before being able to fend for himself. Although, even at this age, he's not entirely defenseless. 2 days later, his brother is born. And he welcomes him to the family by pecking him to death. His parents seem unfazed by this sibling rivalry. For a pelican chick, it's simply a part of growing up. Despite this sibling side, his parents are committed to supporting him through his awkward first months. At 28 days of age, he's 40 times heavier than when he hatched, but still bears little resemblance to his parents. At this stage, he's still heavily reliant on Mum and Dad. As an active member in the community, Mum plays her part in herding a school of fish with her webbed feet and beak. This collective effort lessens the workload for the colony, providing fish for all. After all, there are plenty of hungry young mouths to feed. But this fish won't last forever. When the food runs out, these adult pelicans will move off, deserting any youngster yet to fully fledge. A growing body needs fuel, and throwing a tantrum is one way of ensuring Mum and Dad cater to his every whim. Such is the life of an only child. With the colony on the verge of departure, he's finally looking like a real pelican. Now all he has to do is master the art of flight. Which, as it turns out, is harder than it looks. What adolescence would be complete without those awkward teenage moments? In lieu of any private space to practice, he must learn to overcome his embarrassment. And if he's unable to make this initial flight, he will be left behind, with no hope of survival. But after finally growing that iconic beak, this ugly duckling, so to speak, is transformed. It hasn't been an easy childhood, but through sheer determination, he's able to join the rest of his kind as they majestically take to the skies. Well, mostly. Some of Mother Nature's most extraordinary creatures may not be considered attractive. From horny beetles to awkward pelicans, these creatures are a miracle of life, warts and all. While these species may seem bizarre, they're more than capable of surviving and thriving. Despite their appearances, these animals should love the skin they're in. Because, baby, they were born this way.
Shock us with the most bizarre appearances. Some even look like they've been dressing up. But the weird and wonderful shapes and colors of nature are vital to the animals' lives. From racing pigs to super snouts, it's time to reveal some of the secrets behind these crazy costumes. others extreme. Sometimes they're disguises to help blend in. Other times, they're designed to stand out and show off. But whether it's a monkey in makeup or a salamander's toxic stripes, the weird and wonderful outfits enable the creature to thrive. Perhaps the kings of color, the parrots, seem an obvious place to start. The bird's dazzling hues are not all caused by pigment. A lot of it is clever reflection of the light. Colors are expensive to produce. This way, the birds can avoid using them. Bright, vibrant plumage is very attractive to a bird of the opposite sex. It demonstrates that the wearer is in good health. Parrots, like all birds, see in color, and they use it to show off to one another. But surprisingly, the main function of their bold markings is camouflage. Greens help them blend into the leaves, but even the reds and blues break up their shapes, making them harder for a predator to spot in the canopy. No animal is more famous for being a master of disguise than the chameleon. The cryptic lizards hunt insects and use their knack of picking out good colors to match the surrounding foliage. By moving slowly and with gentle rocking, they'll appear to the cricket as nothing more than a leaf blowing in the wind. They manipulate their colors by exciting 2 layers of pigment within their skin. In their relaxed state, the pigments reflect mostly green. But when the chameleon gets wound up, for example by a trespasser or an attractive member of the opposite sex, then the pigment cells are excited until they reflect different shades of light. This is one animal that never needs to worry about not having enough different outfits. One major reason for an unusual look is to go unseen. In the dappled light of the Amazon rainforest, anything wearing a spotted coat is close to invisible. Just what a predator needs to stalk close to its prey. To catch one of these highly strung animals requires a close approach and ambush. But the white-lipped peccaries don't rely too much on vision in the thick undergrowth. Their long snouts house powerful scenting machines. They can't see the jaguar, but they catch its scent. If he wants pork for supper, it will take more than fancy dress. Below the Amazon, another invisibility cloak is being deployed. recognize this as a turtle. Thanks to its cunning disguise, the Matamata blends into the leaf litter. Fleshy projections on its body break up its shape. Apart from the occasional breath of air, all it needs to do is sit and wait. The fish are drawn to the interesting pile of debris that might harbor prey. They don't notice the vacuous mouth. For the patient reptile, a camo costume is a surefire win. Many marine creatures flaunt fancy looks. Most are born to the role, but there are a few that pick out their own outfits. Hermit crabs are not born with shells. They simply recycle those left behind by other creatures. If they outgrow their accommodation, they simply upgrade. The hard shell keeps them safe and helps them blend into the rock pool community. Some camo gear is so effective that its owner can disappear into the landscape. But this is more than an invisibility cloak. Breeding in the Arctic, the eider duck is at the mercy of the elements. Even in midsummer, snow flurries are common. It can be tough on all the residents. But wrapped in her eiderdown, she sits it out, determined to protect her eggs from the cold. In a matter of hours, she's buried, but barely seems to notice. The snow doesn't last long. It melts away and reveals her, unmoved and unharmed. She has the ultimate survival suit. But if your costume is too good, it might draw envious eyes. The duck's fluffy underfeathers, grown and plucked to line her nest and keep her eggs warm, are much coveted by humans wanting a warm eiderdown duvet. Normally the duck would abandon it as soon as her clutch hatches, but to people, this waste is worth millions. The nervous mother watches as her clutch is placed under expert supervision while the warm nesting material is gathered. Luckily, because of its value, it's better for down collectors to avoid harming the ducks, wanting to ensure a future harvest. returns to mother, none the worse for wear. Eiderdown is camouflage, shelter against the fiercest winters, and even waterproofing, helping these little ones keep their heads above water. Many youngsters are born in camo costumes, much needed protection in a dangerous world. But most will quickly outgrow their birthday suits. The little waders don't just need to grow into their hedgehog suits, but their huge feet as well. After a few weeks, all the baby birds will molt into adult plumage. It's not just birds. Harp seals are dark and mottled to blend into the sea floor, but their pups start out on the ice. They have thick white fur, not only to keep them warm, but to make them harder for predators to spot. It's a smart move in nature to make your babies harder to see, though camouflage only really works when they keep still. The spotted fawns and humbug piglets will lose their markings in time. There are some adult animals that go in for a few costume changes as well. It's a winter whiteout in the Arctic. Here most animals would stick out like a sore thumb, but a few hardy specialists have a neat trick. The Arctic fox has snowy white, thick and windproof fur, keeping it warm and well hidden. And a cold climate grouse, the ptarmigan, uses the same technique to avoid being seen. It even has hairy toes that act like snowshoes. But when the snow disappears, so too does the ptarmigan's white plumage. It molts into a mottled brown-grey that's perfect for disappearing against the rocks. And tufts of fur are all that's left of the fox's white coat. His grey summer suit is a better match for beachcombing. These are markings to help their wearer to blend into its surroundings. But others use their costumes to create spectacle. There is no missing this fancy fella. Making a big fuss about your whereabouts if you're a small animal can attract predators. But for this amphibian, it seems better to be seen and make a statement. The bold markings are saying, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. It's a warning that if you mess with the salamander, you might regret it. The bold pattern tells of special glands hidden in the skin. He's deadly, especially to the small predators of the forest. The glamorous glands produce an alkaloid neurotoxin that can cause muscle convulsions and hyperventilation. His fancy outfit has another benefit too. Living on the forest floor, his toxic skin prevents bacterial or fungal infections. He stays looking good and feeling good. Though it may not have any poison to back itself up, this toad-headed agama is doing his best to look intimidating. Like Medusa's hair, his tail flicks back and forth. It's a display of bravado, warning other males to keep off his rock. When someone tries to set up shop on his patch, they're in trouble. The intruder leaves, but not without sending a message. At least he's got his home back, and being next to an ant colony meant it was worth taking the fall. Many reptiles deploy costume in their intimidating acts, but it's not always the tail. Others turn to color. Blandford's rock agama dazzles and scares with red racing stripes. He head bobs in territorial disputes, and any trespasser gets the message. His girlfriend seems to approve. An intimidating display, perhaps backed up with a poisonous punch, is a good reason to get dressed up. When they've hatched from eggs, caterpillars are destined to nothing more than eating leaves for weeks on end. As big, fat, juicy bugs, they are often eaten by all manner of creatures, but some cover their backs with irritating bristles. The itchy hairs are enough to remove most threats. The caterpillars that live long enough will turn into butterflies or moths. In this case, small emperor moths. And now they have a different tactic. Large spots on their wings. False eyes designed to confuse and intimidate prey. Eye spots are a tried and tested method, and when an egg-stealing monitor lizard threatens their nest, Dicops reveal that they too have the bold markings. Making themselves look as big and intimidating as possible, they work together to call the monitor's bluff. Having the right costume can really help you keep all your eggs in one basket. Some of the most intimidating displays are related to sex. Capercaillies puff themselves up to look as big and as strong as possible. They hope to impress females with their might and frighten away any would-be challenger. He piques the female's interest as he puffs his chest. To maximize the theatrical potential of his costume, he fills himself full of air. The air sacs reverberate, enhancing his calls. If push comes to shove, he can fight with his claws and beak, but his outfit is more show than shove. But some headgear designed to look good to the opposite sex can also be used in combat. This stag is in his prime, and the ladies know it. With hormones pumping through his body, the enraged male warms up on an unfortunate tree. The intruder is making moves on his females, not something he will tolerate. This is not just a hat for show. Antlers are made from some of the strongest bones on Earth, built to go head to head. Things don't always have to turn nasty. The fanciest costume in the world. Female peahens gather around the displaying cock. His incredible fan is 2 meters across. The females will judge it based on its size and bright hues of the 150 eye-like markings. Young males, yet to grow their plumes, do their best to impress. But these girls don't want a toy boy. This is an audio-enhanced performance. The vibrations create low-frequency sounds that the girls can't resist. But this costume can be a drag, literally. The weight of the train makes it harder for the mature males to make a speedy escape, and there are plenty of dangers in the jungle. A cat in camo costume. This time, he's brought down a deer. An outfit designed to blend in worked for him. And now the peacock can get back to work with his conspicuous costume. Some combine display and dispute. In their finery, these gladiators are ready to die by the sword. Roughs, wading birds that win mates by dressing up. There are various looks this season, with each wearer hoping his color combo will impress the ladies. There is another type of costume. Some of the smaller males dress like the females, hoping to get past the aggressive birds and find their way to a mate. They too need ousting. Fresh from the battlegrounds, the males primp and preen. Look to claim their prizes. But the females seem more interested in chasing worms. All dressed up with nowhere to go. This colourful character, dubbed the Clown of the North, is the Atlantic puffin. By winter, the birds live at sea and have small, drab beaks. But when they arrive on land to breed, their beaks grow, like getting ready for a masquerade ball. And to these image-orientated individuals, size matters. The birds with the biggest, most colourful beaks will be the most attractive to the opposite sex. The birds mate for life, and the bill tapping helps reaffirm their bonds. Not only do their beaks look nice, both birds will use them to dig burrows and line them with nesting material. And when their chicks hatch, they are also useful to transport sand eels. Noses can be the most ridiculous aspect of fancy dress. To the human eye, big noses can look absurd, but many animals make the most of having them. One hell of a honker belongs to the Russian Desmond. It's a mole that spends most of its time underwater. It has a snorkel of a snout. Like other moles, it can barely see, and so uses its sizable schnoz to feel its way. Moles have a unique nose, called Eimer's organ. Instead of sight, they can use their sensitive snouts to feel their surroundings. It's especially well developed in the Desmond to help it navigate murky water. It might look a bit silly, but it's expert at sniffing out a treat, whether it's fish, frogs, shrimps, or a tasty snail. Another big nose. This time in the Amazon rainforest. Though it's a cousin of the horse, the tapir has a nose more like an elephant. Highly flexible, it can swing in all directions. Its large area gives its owner a good sense of smell, but can also act like a hand to help pile food into its mouth. In the trees overhead, there's a raccoon that dresses like a tapir. The coati has the same body plan as its North American raccoon counterpart, but it enjoys a more distinguished profile. But there is another aspect of their costume, a long banded tail. The prehensile appendage can act like an extra limb to get them through the canopy. Though sometimes it needs a bit of backup, like help from mum. The tail has another job. Carried aloft, it's like a banner, helping keep the troop together. It would be all too easy to get lost in the dense jungle. Once down on the ground, that nose really comes in useful, sniffing out tasty treats. Like their raccoon cousins, coatis can eat just about anything, even tarantulas. But they prefer insects and fruit. All they have to do is follow their nose. Having a wacky face full of nose can lead to some crazy adaptations. On the vast Russian steppe, burning summers and freezing winters make life difficult. But the Saiga antelope uses its huge nose. The big flexible muzzle can allow blood close to the surface to help cool it on hot days. But when the temperature drops, you can also warm the freezing air before it passes into their lungs. It also works a bit like a car's pollen filter, filtering out dust kicked up by the herd. A lone watchman on a vast desert plain. A type of mongoose, this is the meerkat clan. In the Namibian sun, the greatest of resources is water. And a tiny natural spring forms the core of the home range for a meerkat troop. They are very social animals and work together to defend their patch. To make sure it stays safe, they always post someone on guard. With a watchman on lookout, the rest of the troop can relax and quench their thirst. It's not easy to look out in the fierce, intense African sun, but meerkats have a trick. Which is just as well, as many dangers come from above. Sportsmen sometimes put dark stripes under their eyes, and meerkats have the same look. They might have the appearance of masked bandits, but the dark skin reduces glare bouncing off their cheeks. It means they can look up on the brightest of days. The meerkats have neighbors. The ground squirrels like to hang out nearby to take advantage of the meerkat's security system. These squirrels have a useful accessory themselves, their big bushy tails. It can be hot work feeding out on the plains. Like a built-in parasol, the tail's the perfect sunshade to help forage under the sun. On the African plains, a lack of water is a problem. In Japanese mangroves, the opposite is true. Creatures burrow away until the tide goes out. But then, some wacky outfits are unveiled. Crabs come in all colors, using the bright hues to help recognize their own kind and to show off to each other. Some have a huge accessory. Only male fiddler crabs have the giant claw. It's the size and color of the claw that can bring success, and the claw size determines the dimensions of the owner's burrow. If the glove fits, so will the female. Big claws will produce the ideal burrows for nesting chambers. Mudskippers are fish that can walk out of water. Once the tide retreats, they can clear their burrows of mud before beginning a foraging excursion. As long as their gills stay damp, they can breathe air. When the best feeding spots get a bit crowded, they perform a quick costume change. Like a matador's cape, the fins are waved to taunt their neighbours. But before there is any trouble, the tide returns and the fancy fins are packed away. Some creature costumes are easy to explain, but others remain a mystery. No one really knows why zebras are stripy. The bold black and white markings probably don't help camouflage them, though they might make it harder for predators to pick out one individual in the herd. They might help individuals tell one another apart, and they certainly give each species its own distinct look. Some suggest the eye-straining stripes confuse insects, deterring biting flies from landing. And others even wonder if the dark and light warm up at different rates, helping to control the wearer's temperature. Whatever the reason, they modeled the fanciest outfits on the plains. Is this costume building in progress? In the South American rainforests, leafcutter ants look like mini seamstresses, cutting out dress patterns. With remarkable feats of strength, they can carry the sheets, which weigh many times more than they do. They look like tiny yachts, all at full mast. Their appearance is enough to alarm a lizard, who does some displaying of its own. But the ants aren't doing this to look good. They're farmers, harvesting the leaves and shipping them back to their nest, where they are used to cultivate fungi, their stable diet. But there are some animals that seem to deliberately dress up. Antler decorations can make the wearer look bigger and more intimidating. Whether the ladies will be attracted to a weed remains to be seen. With their big ears, wrinkled skin, tusks and enormous snouts, elephants already look pretty well dressed up. But in the Namibian desert, the sun can get a bit intense. Perhaps Perhaps a sun hat will help. There are other ways that Ellies can get creative, with a spot of face paint. They are clearly